that a face?
Get the fuck out. Leave.
Okay.
Thank you for leaving.
The big news today, the Rangers parting ways with Jacob Trouba. There could be a trade pending. He could be on waivers.
5 minutes later.
New York Rangers have signed franchise goaltender Igor Shesterkin to an 8-year deal, $11.5 million AAV. He's becoming the highest paid goaltender in NHL history. Passing carry price $10.5 million AAV.
5 minutes later.
Wasn't sure if he'd show up.
Yeah, whatever. I just want to play hockey.
Good. Ducks?
5 minutes later.
You know, losing to the Blackhawks, especially in this situation, that very much is like losing to Glass Joe in Punch-Out. Welcome back to Big Apple Hockey, everybody, and we got a lot to talk about. The debacle going on in Manhattan. I, of course, am your host, Marc Williams, who is very delighted every single Wednesday to be doing these shows with you guys. Thank you very much, John D. Lee, who already donated a super chat. And I'm joined with the man behind the final buzzer, and we're ready to release the filk, Mr. John Fulkowski.
I don't know what can be really released at this point. It's so much to wrap your head around with all this, but big trouble in Rangerstown right now. We'll see how they're going to get out of it.
And a man that's never in any trouble from the hockey news, Mr. Anthony Garacco.
I love that edit, Mark. Punch Out's one of my favorite games. Soto Popinski used to give me nightmares, but that was a great edit. And honestly, it's right on par. It's right on par. The Blackhawks could have potentially delivered a knockout punch to the Rangers that it's hard to recover from. So something needs to change there for sure.
Yeah, Anthony, it's really kind of just amazing because if I was at the game Sunday.
Hold on, I'm going to have to cut you off here. I am so sorry. But acknowledge you, Anthony? What, you think you're Roman Reigns? You're the tribal chief over here?
I'm Mark's
you're coming in and you're all bloodline and, yeah. What is going on at this point here? This guy. Sorry, Mark. Go
all right. Now I get the acknowledge me thing. That's where I was kind of.
Yeah, it's Roman Reigns. It's he's the Rock's cousin, and that's Anthony's thing now is acknowledge me. That's why he always asks if you could take a super punch from him.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I always go to Super Macho Man for that, which was that was also Punch Out. He was quite the guy. By the way, Joe, Glass Joe, he's 1-99, and his only win was against Jim Bruiser, who was like a really tough boxer and Super Punch Out. So how about that one? But guys, we got a lot that we got to dissect, and we're gonna get right to the A block because we're gonna try to get as much information about the New York Islanders in because we don't want. And as David's saying right here, the Rangers and Islanders.
Why not switch to wrestling? Yeah.
They're just not worth watching. And of course, I'm wearing one right now. Big Apple Hockey trucker hats are available. The A block is brought to you by Seat Geek. Use the promo code Big Apple Hockey for $20 off your first order. So look, Anthony and Jim were on with me on Friday to cover that, or I was on with them because, it's all commutative. But the Rangers part ways with Jacob Trouba. Then they re-sign Igor Shesterkin. They beat the Penguins, collapse against Seattle, which I was at, as I mentioned that before. And they're totally.
Oh, you were at that? No wonder why they lost.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to be in Vegas to see both the Rangers and the Islanders. So, Anthony, I apologize for the loss your Islanders are going to get next month when I go there. But, Phil, I got to ask you, man, we're starting to feel apathy now. That's how much the beatings are getting worse. Is this rock bottom for the New York Rangers?
I don't know how much further below rock bottom is, to be honest with you. If they lose tonight to Buffalo and they're embarrassed or something like that, I think, even though this shouldn't be the move, I would have a feeling that Peter Laviolette's probably gone if they lose tonight. And I mean, I see a lot of people talking about first year Laviolette is great. Second year Laviolette outside of Carolina has just hasn't worked. It hasn't worked anywhere. So I definitely think that if they lose tonight, I have a feeling Laviolette's gone. I don't know when exactly it would be. Maybe by the end of the week. I have nothing. I'm not saying I have any inside sources, anything like that. I haven't heard anything, but at some point there's got to be a change. And even though this is fully on the players, this would be the third coach that they would get fired in a span of 6 seasons now. It's at some point you got to look at the coaching and say, hey, you know what? It's not really your fault, but they're not listening to you. And the core is rotten. It's completely rotten. Mika Zibanejad, there's an article the other day that Larry Brooks posted where he's mentally soft, basically. He can't handle the criticism. Then you know what? You need to leave. You need to leave. You need to go. That's your problem. If you are not mentally tough enough to handle New York, then you cannot be here. So he needs to go. He needs to waive his no movement clause, and he needs to go somewhere where he's going to be free of criticism, and he can just show up when he wants to and, go DJ in Ibiza on the weekends or whatever the hell that he does on his weekends, where, no one is holding him responsible for anything that he does and showing up and just basically not caring. So he needs to go. Ryan Lindgren needs to be moved out. I understand that, he's been a warrior for this team, but like you said, Mark, the body is being held together by duct tape at this point. There's too many injuries. They clearly didn't want to commit to him long-term last offseason with that 1 year, $4.5 million contract that he's currently on. They don't, obviously they don't value him the way that they used to. So get rid of him now. I mean, he's not helping. He ever since, and I read an article today from Shayna Goldman in The Athletic about the Rangers, and Shayna wrote a really good piece. I would suggest checking it out if you want more of a detailed breakdown as to what's going on with their defense, because she explores a few different possibilities with this team. But Ryan Lindgren's return coincides to when the defensive play fell off of a cliff, absolute falling off of a cliff. So they tried to make adjustments to bring him in, and the adjustments end up screwing up all the chemistry that this team had and the three pairings that were playing very well together before he came back. So I understand he's Foxy's best friend, and he's been a warrior for this team, but he's got to go. You don't have any plans of re-signing him. Get what you can get for him. Move on from him now. And I'm not saying that him and Trouba being gone is going to automatically fix all their problems, because their problems are not just from the defensive corps themselves. They're from the forwards too. So I know everybody wants to see Miller gone. I don't think he should be here another year after this year either. But that's going to be an off-season deal that they're going to have to look into. So, but yeah, there's a lot of problems with this team. There's a lack of leadership, which I've been talking about for years now. There's a lack of heart. There's a lack of commitment to winning. There's a lack of buying into the system that they have won with. Like this team, when they didn't want to play Laviolette's system last year, that's when they floundered from mid-December to about early February for that month and a half, where Igor Shesterkin needed his mental reset, and Jonathan Quick came in and saved the day. You know what? I don't know if Jonathan Quick can save the day again. I think his age is actually starting to show. Like the Seattle game was bad. Like a big part of that was on him. He was not good enough. But at some point, they're going to have to acknowledge that Laviolette's message is not getting through to these guys, no matter what he does or says. And I think it might be time for a change.
we're actually gonna all share our thoughts on the Igor stuff in a minute because that contract, we made no secret about that. First, Anthony, let's get into the Rangers slump. And also, there's another question people keep asking since Friday. I'll get to that in a minute. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are right now is that they are just quite simply not a good team right now. They're playing with really no system, no particular heart outside of maybe Will Cooley and a couple other guys. They seem like a team that's going through the motions. And yeah, maybe they have tuned out Peter Laviolette. And it would be a damn shame if they got him fired because he's not the issue. But again, when you look at Chris Drury's options, what else can he do? It's easier to fire the coach than, fire 23 guys. So, I don't know what the path forward here is. And I kind of alluded to it, for the past couple of weeks. There's no one walking through that door, player wise to kind of really, save them. They have to figure it out on their own. And, for me as a group, it doesn't seem like they're capable of doing that right now. A lot of them are just, checked out, if you want to call it. We all know about Mika Zibanejad. I mean, fellas, what was that? His giveaway on that goal in Chicago. That was terrible. Like you
see what Sean Avery said about him?
No, I missed it. What
my God. He was like, doesn't want to take a hit, turns it over, soft as shit.
Yeah, no, it was. It was a terrible giveaway. And then not only that, but after he gave it away, he kind of just skated to the net and almost boxed out. I think it was Ryan Lindgren, preventing him from really doing his job there. But, he's been absolutely terrible. I mean, I haven't seen a player fall off as fast as he has from what he was even last year. And he wasn't even that good last year. So I don't know what's going on with him, but he's terrible. I mean, Chris Kreider still doesn't have an assist, right? I mean, I don't know what he's doing, but for a veteran leader, he should be a guy that could step up in this moment and rally the troops. But he's been not good at all. I mean, it goes on and on. Ryan Lindgren, we all know about the complaints about him. Keandre Miller. I mean, Igor Shesterkin's not playing up to the ability that he typically should be for the amount of money he's getting paid now. So just, kind of everywhere you look, the team's just a little bit in disarray. And, I had said, Mark, that, Jacob Trouba, yes, he needed to go. But Jacob Trouba wasn't the move that was going to fix the Rangers. Was Jacob Trouba playing poorly? Yes. Did he look like he was checked out? Yes. But he is not the issue for the Rangers' struggles. I mean, when you look up and down the lineup, there's so many other guys that are more important to their success that aren't producing, namely the Kreiders, the Zibanejads. Riley Smith, they picked him up. Granted, no one thought he was going to be a world beater, but he hasn't really done much of anything. Let's talk about Adam Fox. Some fans think he's beyond reproach, like you can't criticize him. But he's been bad. And the one thing about Adam Fox is he's never been a fast skater. He's always relied on his smarts, his gap control, to kind of, close off forwards and make the good play. But this year he looks even slower, and he just looks, he's not himself. Yeah, he's good offensively, but in the defensive zone, he hasn't been good. So, it goes up and down the lineup. So, for me, the Rangers are in a lot of trouble. Now, if you want to kind of look at the silver lining of it, is that the East right now, Mark, is just a whole bunch of just yuck. Mediocrity. Just look at the Metro. You're talking the Rangers in fourth with 29 points, and the Blue Jackets in last with 27. So it's literally separated by 2 points. And even, the Lightning, first wild card, 30 points. They're only 1 point ahead of the Rangers and Islanders. So because of just the amount of teams that are just kind of meh, neither New York team is out of it. But that's not really saying much considering how bad they kind of have both been. And especially the Rangers more specifically lately, especially with their expectations. I don't think anybody saw this coming. So, look, I don't know what happens. I do kind of agree with Phil. If they lose tonight, it could be the final straw for Laviolette, especially if it's another lackadaisical effort. But I mean, so when you're talking about rock bottom, could tonight be rock bottom if they lose to Buffalo? I mean, maybe, but Buffalo's a lot better than Chicago. And I mean, Buffalo's home tonight, right? So I still think losing Chicago at home is worse than if they were to lose tonight. But still, though, Mark, we talked about it when we did our last show about these 4 games: Pittsburgh, Seattle, Chicago, Buffalo. I think we both in agreement. 2-2 at a baseline. It was kind of like, but now they're staring down the precipice of being 1-3 if they lose over this 4-game stretch. And that's just simply not good enough. So, again, I don't know what the next step is here for Drury. Fire the coach, try to make a trade. But, before I kind of hand it off to you, Mark, the one interesting part about it is, Phil brought up Staples' article today about targets, but I believe it was in that same article, the thing he wrote to me that was a little interesting. He said, according to a Western Conference scout, that the teams that are calling the Rangers, they're calling on players like Will Cooley, and they really don't really have any interest in Zibanejad and Kreider at this moment. So that's a problem because those are the 2 guys you would want to move, right? So I don't know what kind of trade Drury can make here, but I just think firing the coach is a big mistake. And if he's smart, he won't fire the coach, because if he fires the coach, like Phil said, that's a bunch of coaches now at this point. So if you fire the coach, what's next? Yourself. He's on the chopping block. So you would think he's smart enough to realize that. So that's why I would think he'd be hesitant on firing Laviolette, but who really knows?
First, let me tell you this one anecdote just to say. When I went to Tampa to do the Marc on the road back in 2022, and it was game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals. They just lost game 3. It was very crushing. I get there. A friend of mine is at the hotel the Rangers are staying at. I was staying at a different one. I'm trying to get to meet up with them. And it's like, hey, you got to get down here. The Rangers down here. One of the guys that was down there having a drink was Mika Zibanejad. I don't even know if it was a drink. It might just been some water. But he spoke with him for a little bit because he's a huge Ranger fan. And then Mika just kind of looked over and went, I'm sorry, I've got to focus on tomorrow's game. And that was the focus that Mika Zibanejad had back then. I don't know if it's there now. I honestly don't know. And Mika just seems to be checked out mentally, lost completely on the ice. And this is what happens when your entire game revolves around the power play, which is I've highlighted several times. Since the Florida game, they are 20th in the NHL. They were 3rd last year. That is very bad when it's feast or famine just based on the power play. And I think Richie's got a good point about this one. And unfortunately, we're going to get to that as a second round of questions. And we're going to be quick about these because we got a lot we got to cover today. But on top of it, I think this is why Chris Drury is safe, because he signed the Shesterkin deal with full no move clause, buyout proof. Up in the Blues has got a great question here. Who's going to replace Laviolette? Is Jay Woodcroft really going to be the guy? Is there another name out there?
They wrote I think Larry Brooks wrote a piece that I don't remember if it was him or Staple, but they said that there's no interest in Joel Quenneville. So, I mean,
yeah. First off,
Joel Quenneville would actually be the one guy that could probably come in, command the respect, and fix the mess, if you ask me. But the Rangers don't want to deal with the PR disaster that would be after everything that happened, and I don't blame them one bit.
No, absolutely not. No,
and I don't think Babcock is
like Babcock either.
PR disaster.
But I mean, this is one thing that the Rangers have to figure out. And now they've removed one distraction, which was Trouba. Let's face it. We've talked about this the last month, guys. Speaking about people that were mentally checked out. And I'm sorry, the whole narrative. Bruce Boudreau would be a good solution.
Boudreau would be a good one.
Yeah.
But it would also mean the Rangers are done in the first round, possibly, because he doesn't exactly win playoff series outside of 2015 with Anaheim.
And please stop with Messier. Messier is not going to be a coach. He has zero experience. It seems like this name always comes up, and I can't tell you how many times I've told everybody about this. He has zero experience. He's not going to be the coach. It would be stupid.
I mean, it's hard to believe that they're going to ignore the winningest coach, American coach ever. Like, that's just ridiculous. So there's rot on this team. There were problems that they had all along, as I'm just reconfiguring my desk. But it's something that they are starting to address. They took away the Shesterkin contract distraction because it was starting to get on his mind. It was clear in his play. So we'll get to that in a second. They removed Jacob Trouba, who was completely checked out. Okay, now you got the veterans. And the reason why you would call about Will Cooley, Anthony, is because why not? The guy's been the Rangers' best player the last 3 weeks. He's under cost control on an ELC. You would want a guy like that. So by all means, call up a Will Cooley. Your answer is there's the door. I'll talk about anything else. So let's get to the Igor deal, guys. I'll start it off for us. You know I'm opposed to it. It's too much money. If you read my article that's on X about it, I tried to come up with a metric, any stat that can actually make you say this is a good deal. But you're not. You don't have it. If you take away, and NHL.com was quick to point out all the different stats that he's got, going, oh no, he's top 2 if you include 21-22. The problem is if you don't include that season, because then you see him go behind guys like Ullmark, Swayman, Ottinger, Gustafsson, Hellebuck. And you're paying him $3 million more than all these guys. He drops very much in a lot of categories, including saves above expected, which is supposed to be the magical category that makes him the greatest goalie ever. Is he a world-class goalie? Of course. Is he elite? Of course. Does he have great save percentage of the playoffs? Of course. But he only plays like 55 games. They couldn't have signed him to this deal. They did. I get that the cap's going up. Phil, I'll just see to you because I'm going to keep going on about how much I hate this deal.
There's two big problems with this whole team in general. One, going back to the coaching. Likely, they're going to try to save this season. And they have to now because of this deal. Like, you pigeonholed yourself into a position where you have to go forward. You have to compete. Now you can't rebuild now because you have an $11.5 million goaltender that's going to prevent you from getting someone like James Higgins or Michael Misa. Like, those are the guys that you want to get, but you're not going to get those. And they shouldn't have given him this deal until they figured out whether or not this team could turn it around, which makes no sense to me. I don't understand why they did it at this point. I mean, they're not dead. They're not dead, Matt. I'm sorry, they're not actually dead. It's just statistically not true. Like, we can all think that, yeah. We can all think that they look dead, but who knows? A coaching change maybe could ignite these guys. Usually it ends up doing so, and usually it's a warning shot across the bow that says, hey, you better wake up, or now more guys will be going. Like, Drury already fired a warning shot by moving Trouba. He already fired it, and you figured that would be enough. But this team just doesn't seem to respond to things like this. So for me, it's almost like they're being like a defiant little child that got a toy taken away from them, and they're throwing a fit until they get the toy back. And that's getting the toy back would be getting Laviolette fired. So they should have never given this deal. The AAV is ridiculous. He's not $3 million better than Hellebuck or Saros or Ottinger or Swayman
or his best friend
or anything like that. You can say that by the end of December, but only time will tell. You can say that, you can believe that. That's fine, but only time will tell. Right now, they're not dead. There's still time. They could turn this around and go on a hell of a run. Do I think that'll happen? No, I don't. I think that as constructed, they're fundamentally flawed in so many ways, and a new voice would have to come in and change everything up. And that's part of what Shayna was saying in her article, is that you could make the defensive changes, but it's going to have to require to go back to some basics and some fundamentals, because she believes that Laviolette's system was a hindrance on guys like Trouba and Lindgren, who can't play that type of up-tempo, high pinch type game. It doesn't fit them. And I do agree. I also think it exposes guys like Miller who are already that way to begin with. Now you're going to tell him to be hyper-focused on jumping up into the play when he has enough of a hard time getting back into his own zone and getting into the right positions to defend. I mean, it's a lot to ask. It really is. Schneider has responded well to it in a way. He's played well under Laviolette. That's great. But some others might not. So for me, maybe a change is what gets it done. But they should have never given Igor Shesterkin this deal until they could have figured out whether or not this team could turn it around and whether or not it was going to require a coaching change for them to do so. So they made a massive mistake. Now they have to go forward and try to go all in because now this year is the last year of that deal. And then this kicks in next year and you're screwed because now you're giving an extra almost $6 million almost to him to be a guy that's a top 15 goaltender statistically in the regular season. That's not good enough at that AAV. It's not.
And a guy whose numbers has declined every single year is 21-22. Just at least show me one bounce back. Show me one. Anthony, quickly on this. We got one more quick question on the Rangers, then we can go to the Islanders. What are your thoughts on this deal?
It's a bad deal. It's I don't know how else to say it. It's too much money for a guy that's going to be 30 years old and looking like a team that could be on the precipice of a retool. I mean, it's just. I mean, I get it. People say, "Well, what is Chris Drury supposed to do? Let him go and all that stuff." But but it wasn't a good business decision to give him that much money. I mean, number one, his outside of his Vezina year. He hasn't done anything to show that he's worth this amount of money. And don't talk to me about the playoffs. Yes, I get that he's good in the playoffs, but you don't pay a guy solely on playoff performance. The regular season does matter and where you finish and how you perform. So I don't want to hear that. And then you'll talk about, and Phil and I talked about this to other people on Twitter. They're like, oh, well, the Rangers play poor defense. I don't want to hear about that because goalies on significantly worse teams have similar numbers than Igor right now, and he's supposed to be miles better than them. Style. Blackwood. Granted, Blackwood's going to the Avalanche, but on a Sharks team, he was performing pretty similar to Igor. Peter Mrazek.
We'll talk more about him in a minute.
Worst team in the league. On par with Igor. So don't give me that, oh, well, the Rangers defense doesn't help them out. Okay, yeah, that's true, but that whole narrative is thrown out the window when you look at these goalies who are significantly worse and performing on the same level. So I don't want to hear it. And the other thing is, again, both Phil and I mentioned, he's not worth $3.5 to $4 million worth in Connor Hellebuck. Like, oh, well, when did Hellebuck sign his deal? Escalation and all that. He signed it in October. He sold
escalation doesn't come into factor here because it's only a year later.
Yeah, give me a break. It was October of 2023. It wasn't that long ago. He's not worth that much more than Connor Hellebuck. He's just not.
Yeah.
We had to chime in just for 1 second. Anthony was on a roll. And now the dogs barked because they were just like, well, guys, why are you talking over Anthony for a second?
But it's just I don't understand it. I mean, well, I understand to an extent. I just, vehemently disagree with it. But like they made their bed now. They have to lie in it. He's there for a long time. And if the Rangers decide to retool and they take a couple of steps back, you're going to be paying a goalie a lot of money for a team that's not really in a contending window anymore. So, it is what it is at this point. They're kind of stuck with it. And like Phil said, now they really have no choice but to try to keep going forward. But
yeah, they got to go all in this year. They have to. There's no choice. And they really do have to do this. And another thing that a lot of questions were coming up on Friday during our stream, and people are asking all weekend, Phil, do the Rangers need to name a captain right now?
No. I don't think there's anybody on this team capable of taking a captaincy right now. And two, why would you do that in this situation? The only guy that I could think of that would really fit the bill, and this is going to change the direction they go in possibly, is Chris Kreider. And if you name Chris Kreider captain, you have to keep him at this point. because you're going to look like a clown show if you name him captain temporarily and then deal him off. So there's no captain for me. I don't think Chris Kreider is captain material. I mean, people saying Trocheck. Okay. I mean, he's saying the things that you want to hear. That's not somebody I'm naming captain right now, though. I'm not doing anything to name anybody captain right now. This is something that has to be investigated, something that has to be thought over long and hard. And there needs to be a process behind this, because the last time they named somebody a captain, when the fans and the media were questioning about it, they named Trouba. Oh, the locker room picked Jacob friggin' Trouba, who ended up being the worst captain I've seen in my lifetime as a Ranger fan. So no, let's hold off on this. Let's see. No for Panarin. Absolutely not. A guy that doesn't show up in the playoffs in the deeper rounds, a guy that shies away from physical contact when the game gets really physical. You want that to be your captain? Are we serious right now?
And also, taking account the last time they traded a captain in season and didn't name a captain, well, not the last time, because they've had it done in 2018 too. They ended up going to the Stanley Cup Finals. So we'll see about that one. And yeah, it's just they can't be trying to fiddle around with naming a captain right now, because this team's got a lot of other stuff that they got to figure out. All right, guys, we spent 31 minutes on the Rangers. We got to move on. Let's talk about the Islanders last week, treading water. They were 2-2. Right now, they're tied with the Rangers. But let's put one player on the Islanders under a microscope. Anders Lee, 2 goals, 2 assists last week, 13 goals, 11 assists, 24 points this season. Anthony, this guy looks like he's having a little bit of a Lee surgeons, if you will.
Oh, God, Mark. Yeah, Lee, I don't know what Lee did in the offseason, if, he kind of changed his training methods. But I have to say, after the season he had last year, which, I mean, wasn't terrible, scored 18 goals. But, like, this year he looks significantly better. He looks quicker. He looks more engaged. I don't know if it's, Barzal and so many guys going down that as the captain, he felt like someone needs to step up. But he's been strong on the puck, which you really see too much last year, which had always been a real, strength of his. Good net front presence. Again, he's faster. So I like his game right now, and he needs to continue playing like this if the Islanders have a chance to get in the playoffs. And he's, as a captain, he's doing what's needed right now. And another thing could be too is last year he kind of took a lesser role. He was on the third line a lot. Now with all the injuries, he's been on their so-called top line with Horvat and Pajot. So maybe it's just getting power play 1 minutes again and just more of a role. He's re-energized. But yeah, you gotta like his game right now. And like I said, hopefully he could continue it. And the Islanders are going to need him if they want to make some noise. But I am encouraged to see Lee playing back to a good level, because he's a real good person too. So I'm glad to see him have success on the ice again.
Yeah, I think we could all agree as far as like somebody you'd want on your team. Anders Lee would be on the short list. Phil, sorry about doing the pun again. What do you think about the Lee surgeons?
Well, I mean, there's nothing I can say that Anthony didn't really already say there. Anders Lee looks like, I think part of it may be health. I know over the last few years he's had some issues with knee, hip, so on. I know that Anders Lee is finally healthy, so this might be part of it. I would think it's more so that, and like Anthony said, the conditioning in the off-season regimens. I wonder how much lighter he is, because he looks like he's a little smaller, I would say. But yeah, I think that has a part to do with it, because Anders Lee was always a slower skater, and he was a bigger guy. And back when he played with John Tavares, that really fit the bill, because a lot of their game was predicated on cycling down low, net front play. That fit. I think Anders Lee has finally realized that that's not really the way the game is played anymore. And the increase in speed and maybe the decrease in weight and mass has kind of helped him gain a little speed that he's needed to kind of assimilate himself with today's game. Because for a while, I mean, his numbers were going down. Like, he was never going to be that 40-goal, 60-point guy again. Like, I could understand that. I mean, if he keeps it up at this pace, though, I mean, maybe this could be the year. But it was always expected that he was never going to be that same player that he was in 16, 17, when he had that crazy 40-goal year with Tavares. But, I do think that there's a bit of health and conditioning with him. You just got to wonder if this is sustainable, and then if he does lose ice time when the others come back, how that affects him. But either way, the Islanders have a guy that they've needed to step up for a while and has needed to really kind of get his game back to where it was years ago. And he's playing at a very good level right now. So, I mean, he's one of the things that's helping keep them afloat.
Oh, suddenly you just went blank. I was like, wait, what?
No, I stopped.
All right, no. Well, because I was going to go look up some of his stats because I was just going to make sure and say, if I didn't know any better, Anders Lee is going to score 28 goals again. But because I think he scored it for like 3 consecutive seasons. But look, Anders Lee has always been one of the top 10 net front players in the game. He was kind of drifting back a little bit for the last few years. Right now, you got to put him probably at least in the top 6 with both Joe Pavelski retiring and just how he's looked. The game against Ottawa, that he made a good move in front for his goal. Just his instincts are right there. Yeah, I think health has got a lot to do with it. And look, as far as the Islanders are concerned, they love this guy, and he's been a great leader for them. So, and a great guy, does great charities. Anthony, you've been to the Can Jam. So it's nice to see Anders Lee coming back, because unfortunately we all don't get to end sports careers the way we want to. And if like he found himself out in New York at the end of this, at least now there might be some more years in there for him. And Phil, I think I'd leave him right there in front for the power play and let that work, because I think their power play has been working a little bit as of late, and it's going to be better once Matt Barzal comes back. Anthony, do you have a parlay right now, or do you?
I don't.
You do?
I don't. No.
All right. Well, I'll see if you got one later on in the show. But guys, we're going to take a quick break and a message from DraftKings, and then we got some NHL Bar Talk to talk. Hockey fans light the lamp this winter with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers can bet just $5 pregame moneyline on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. If that wasn't enough excitement, you can turn small bets into bigger payouts with same-game parlays. Combine multiple bets like which team will win, how many goals will be scored, and more for your shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sports app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet $5 on any NHL team to win their game and get $150 in free bets if they do. Only at the DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN.
Shot. This is the easiest I've ever to answer.
I'm going to say beer. I can't even begin to describe.
I'm actually going to go crazy. I'm going to buy everybody around on this one. Welcome back, everybody, to Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk. We're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice of drink. He's so confident that you're buying around, so I'll have a beer. Oh, God, I need a shot. Play along down in the comments below, because everybody is involved on this. And we got Anthony. He's definitely here. I saw him a minute ago, but he'll be right back. We'll start with this one, Phil. We'll start with the New York Rangers. Arthur Staple released list of several trade targets for the New York Rangers. Some of them obvious, like Brady Tkachuk, Trevor Zegras. But he kind of mentioned some other ones like Thomas Chabot and this guy. The New York Rangers should target Dylan Cousins, whom they're going to be playing against tonight.
I'm hesitant on him. So I'm going to say beer. The reason I say that is because his numbers have declined big time since his 30-goal, 70-point season a couple of years ago. Like I don't like his numbers right now. They're not very good. 13 points in 28 games. It's barely under a 40-point pace. No, I'm sorry. It was a 31-goal, 68-point season in 2023. Then he had 18 goals and 47 points in 79 games last year, and he's not even on pace for 47. Like that's not the guy I would target from that team. If anything, I would rather target Alex Tuck than him right now. And I get it. Like, he's young. He plays center. I mean, he's got some size and some speed to him. You know, he's 6'3", maybe about 200 pounds. Very good skater for his size. Young. He'll be 24 in February. But, I mean, I don't know if Tuck would waive, if he would want to leave. I just think that Cousins is somebody that's a very risky proposition at the AAV that he's at, because I'm pretty sure that he's over like a set. I think his AAV is over 7 million, and that's not something you wanna go and give up a decent haul for, because they're still gonna want something like pretty significant for him, and two, yeah, it's 7.1 million, and he signed until. Oh, he signed longer than Zibanejad. So if he doesn't work out and he doesn't get back to where he was 2 years ago, and he doesn't progress, you're out 7.1 million on a young guy with high draft pedigree that ends up being a bust. So yeah, I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna say shot. I'm going down a shot on this. And another thing is that his year where he had that big 31-goal, 68-point year, he shot 14.7%. His career is 10.2, and none of his other seasons have been over 10. His best was 9% last year in 23-24 when he had 18 goals. So I'm going to say shot on this. Until he starts showing some sort of sign of life, no. And even then, at that point, if he does, Buffalo's not going to want to move him if he starts playing like the guy they thought he was going to be. They're not going to want to move him. So it's going to be a moot point. So it's a shot for me.
One of the guys just brought up that it was supposed to say it said should to on there, because originally it was something else. It was need to. I was like, all right, that's why I went to should. Anthony, should the Rangers try to go after Dylan Cousins? Oh, Anthony, sorry.
If it was it depends. If it was a buy low situation, then I would say yeah, but I don't think that would be the case. I think even though he's struggled a little bit lately, he's still young, and the Sabres aren't going to give him away. In that article today with Staple and trade targets for the Rangers, when he had Cousins there, I believe he had said, like, you know, Buffalo may ask for a guy like Lafreniere, which is absolutely a non-starter for me for a guy like Dylan Cousins. So, that just goes to show I don't think Buffalo is going to sell low on him. So for that reason, I'll say shot. One guy wasn't on Staples' list, but I think would be a good fit for the Rangers would be Drake Batherson in Ottawa if they wanted to make wholesale changes. He's over a point per game right now. He's only 26 years old. That's the type of player I would try to get.
Guys, we're going to make it a hat trick. I'm going to say shot as well, because the salary, can't do it, because he's going to be a buy low guy. You guaranteed on that salary? Absolutely not. Can't do that. He is a very responsible defensive forward. I mean, his plus minus doesn't exactly reflect it too much, But no, I gotta go. I gotta go shot on this. Rangers have to aim a little bit higher. But here's part of the problem. And I quoted Rounders the other night on Big Apple Hockey's X account. When you look around for the sucker and you can't spot him in the first hour, you are the sucker. Right now, the Rangers are the teams people are looking to start taking players off of. And I'm not sure exactly where the Rangers can look, because right now they're with all the teams that we would consider to be sellers. Let's go back to 2018. John Tavares was the number one free agent on the market, and he ended up leaving the New York Islanders as a UFA. But they're in a similar situation this year, not necessarily the number one UFA, because right now I'd say that's probably Mikko Rantanen, guys.
Correct.
But Brock Nelson has got his name coming up in trade rumors. Granted, some accounts, not exactly the best. And he is going to be a UFA at year's end. Anthony, the Islanders must, and will capitalize the word must, have Brock signed before the trade deadline.
I mean, this is a shot. They don't have to have him signed by the deadline, and I'll kind of, tell you why. One, as far as the trade rumors go, I'm shocked that these people in the media don't understand this about Lou Lamoriello, and they continue to talk about Nelson. Lou Lamoriello doesn't sell. He's not moving Brock Nelson with this team, couple points out of a playoff spot. It's just not happening. Now, if the Islanders were like 15 points out, then yeah, maybe he might consider it. But other than that, the Islanders trading Nelson's not happening. And the reason why I say shot here is because there's no pressure for the Islanders to re-sign him before the deadline. This is a guy that's played his whole career on the island. He came up and grew up with guys like Casey Zizekas, Anders Lee, who he's seen stay with the Islanders. I think he's in that same boat. I think he wants to be an Islander for the rest of his career. So he's not really, I don't think he's really worried about, testing the market, and the Islanders know that they don't have to sign him by the deadline because of that, really. So, yeah, I love him. You guys all know that. I think highly of him. I want to see him finish his career as an Islander, but I'm saying shot here just because I don't think there's anything to worry about. I think, that when the season ends, the two sides will sit down and, they'll try to work something out, but the Islanders really don't have any pressure here to sign him by the deadline.
Yeah, I think I could speak for all three of us when we said we'd all love that Brock Nelson on our team. And Phil, what do you think?
Just because the wording, the word must.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna say shot because of the wording. Whether or not you want to believe that Brock Nelson is going anywhere, I personally don't believe it. I don't get the same vibe that I got from Tavares from him. Like, Tavares is very almost filibusterish with his answers. I don't get that with Brock Nelson. I really don't. I get the vibe that he would like to be here, but I think he also understands that it's a business, and he may end up asking for something that Lou Lamoriello might not be comfortable giving him. Then again, Lou Lamoriello may have a loyalty to him because he improved vastly under Lou Lamoriello. Lou Lamoriello is very good to his loyal soldiers. We've seen that in the past. Mm-hmm. He'll pay. I mean, he wanted to pay Niedermeyer, but Niedermeyer wanted to go to Anaheim to be with his brother, and he left. He wanted to pay Rafalski. Rafalski wanted to go home. He paid Elias. He paid Brodeur. He paid all the others that wanted to stay. So I wording alone, I'm saying shot. Should they have him signed before the deadline? If they want him back, yeah, I would get the deal done as soon as possible. But, I mean, I don't think that it's going to be a distraction for him or the team. Kind of like a certain somebody that wanted a whole ton of money to play net on the other side of New York. But I think Brock Nelson understands that he's going to go out there. He's going to play hard every night. He's going to play an honest game. And I think the club, if they want to take care of him and, it's a reasonable deal that he wants, I think he understands that he'll get it.
Yeah, we're going to go shot on this one too, guys. We're just all agreeing today. He's a different animal than Tavares. And yeah,
I was just about to respond to that one.
He's first off, Trotz is already talking about how it's not working with the moves he did, and that he may have to kind of strip it down and start over. So why is he trading for a player that's 33 that's going to be a free agent? Totally negates what
they're already one of the oldest teams in the league.
So, yeah, that's not. I get it because Trotz is there. That's what the connection he's trying to make. But there's no chance of that whatsoever.
Yeah, and the other thing is Nelson loves Long Island. He loves being here. You get that impression both from him publicly and from people I know that know him. But you don't think that he's just itching to test the market. He's been underpaid, taking team-friendly deals his entire career. I would not be surprised if he did it one more time and they gave him a little bit extra AAV just to be like, we'll pay on the back end and maybe retire before then. So I don't know. Let's go with the team that's leading right now in the Metropolitan Division. They faced the New York Rangers last year in the postseason. Washington Capitals, 40 points, one more than New Jersey, who's played a bunch more games, 3 more than Carolina, 10 clear of Philadelphia. Guys, we can look at some of the other numbers, but the Capitals are going to win the Metro. Phil.
I don't see it. I'm gonna say shot. They're playing well right now. Something about New Jersey and Carolina scare me a little more than Washington. I don't think New Jersey has played their best hockey yet. I don't think Carolina has played their best hockey yet. I think those teams are going to go out and they're going to make the necessary moves, especially Carolina. Carolina is like, I would say, a center and maybe one defenseman away from being a real cup threat. And New Jersey, if they went out and they got a legitimate top 4 defenseman to come in there, ooh, man, that would be a real scary team because their offense is good enough as is. They're quick. They play fast. I mean, it's everything that you want your team to be is kind of what New Jersey is building towards right now. So I don't see Washington getting the goaltending either going forward. Like Charlie Lindgren and Logan Thompson are really going to be the guys that are going to, take you to the top of the division and then far in the playoffs. I don't see it.
Anthony, what do you think?
I mean, I kind of dismissed the Capitals in the offseason.
I think we all did.
But I'm going to say shot again. And it's not – I mean, listen, I will accrue. They're certainly a lot better than I expected. And, I still expect them to make the playoffs. Like, I don't think they're going to collapse that badly. But
no,
I just think Carolina and New Jersey will eventually pass them. I think the Hurricanes are kind of a little bit of a slump right now. I think they're going to catch up. And New Jersey is right behind them to begin with, and I think they just might get better as the season goes along. So I'm going to say shot. With that said, though, I mean, right now, if I had to pick for Coach of the Year, I would say Spencer Carberry. I mean, has to be leading the pack there. I mean, I will give him his due. He's pushed a lot of the right buttons with that team this season. So yeah, but as for winning the division, I'm going to say shot.
Guys, I'm going to go beer on this one, and they just look so good. They lead the NHL goals per game over 4. I mean, right now, a lot of teams would love that. The next closest one is Tampa Bay Lightning, 3.81. But it's just, you got to love.
Another good one.
Yeah.
You know what? Minnesota could be right there. But the way the Capitals have been doing it, and I think they're going to stick with that goalie tandem, that lefty goalie tandem. Who'd have thought you'd have 2 lefties on the same, left-handed catching, right-handed catching goalies. I always think throwing whenever I do that, guys. Sorry. But I think Capitals really could be a dangerous team, and they keep it up like this. But the one reason why I can't go to round, Jersey's right there, and nobody closes out a season like Rod Brindamore and the Carolina Hurricanes. All right. Let's move over to another goalie that got moved recently, or a transaction with a goalie, I should say. Colorado acquired Mackenzie Blackwood from
Kenzie Wedgwood.
Somebody through with that.
I didn't do that one. No.
Did you do that again?
I did not do that. I did not do that.
All right.
No.
No, I don't think he did because he's on the iPad right now. Anyway, Mackenzie Blackwood going all.
I mean,
the way.
I will say this, Mark. I will cut you some slack. Wedgwood, Blackwood, Mileswood, the Avalanche they have all the wood, so I could get some
all the
wood.
I mean, and some of their players use Sherwood.
Yeah.
Well, also, Anthony, let's go with one step better. This was the Devils' goaltending tandem 4 years ago. So, yeah, all the different wood.
Did you imagine like Keeper Sherwood and all of them playing on the same team, and Sam Rosen having to call a game with all those guys on the same team? Oh my God, I think he might actually have a seizure.
But now with Scott Wedgwood and Mackenzie Blackwood in fold, Colorado's goaltending will no longer be an issue, Mr. LaRocca.
I mean, I think it was Frank Saravelli that I posted in our group chat that he made a good point of, yes, Blackwood was playing well in San Jose, but now he's back to a team that has some expectations. And, you saw kind of how he fared with high expectations in New Jersey. Can he handle the pressure of that? Because in San Jose, there was none. So that's the big question there. While I think he's an improvement over Gorgiev, I just don't. Yes. So the Blackwood Wedgwood tandem is better than Gorgiev and Anunin. With that said, I don't know. Like, it's not like they just acquired, Jeremy Swayman here. So while it's better, I still think they could possibly kind of, struggle there, especially if Blackwood kind of reverts to the form that he had prior to his rebound this year. Then it will be an issue. So, you know what? I'll go with a beer here right in the middle. I do think it's improved, and kudos for Joe Sakic to overhauling his goaltenders from what he started with. But I don't think they're completely out of the woods yet.
Phil?
Oh, we had to get the out of the woods yet. Because that's just great. I love that. Out of the woods, everybody. Wood in the mountains, Mile High Wood, Morning Wood in Denver. I mean, we could go on and on with wood puns here because I'm all for them. So if you've got any, keep putting them in the chat, everybody. But I'm gonna say beer as well. I was leaning towards shot. The reason why is because I forget who posted it, but someone put up an article and mentioned Blackwood's struggles in New Jersey when there was actually pressure to perform. I wonder if being in a pressure situation gets to him again. And provided Colorado's a better team than New Jersey was back then, but it's still a pressure situation, and he hasn't played in one in a very long time. I mean, he was able to just go out in San Jose and not worry about anything. So I really don't know how he's going to fare there. To me, it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I'm going to say beer.
I'm going to go beer on this one as well, guys. I think they definitely upgraded in a lot of ways. I know that a lot of people are looking over at probably the 2020 season, but New Jersey really wasn't that good of a team at that time. And his numbers started getting much worse. I think he was 22, 14, and 8 that year. And then just the wheels fell off the cart the next year, 14, 17, and 4, and well over 3 goals against. And that was the last time his save percentage was over 900 until this year. And you got to think that maybe see, I almost did it myself right there. Blackwood's right there, but they've massively upgraded their goaltending, but I'll just go beer on this one. I really want it to be something better. So I guess that's another hat trick, by the way. Although a beer hat trick really isn't exactly as exciting as as a shot or a
beer trick.
A beer trick. Phil, let's keep looking over to the Pacific. And a guy that was in Madison Square Garden and had a very good game on Sunday, Shane Wright. 9 points in his last 9 games. It was actually 9 points in his last 8. He didn't have any against Florida yesterday, but he's really played well over the last stretch of games. Makes you wonder, has Shane Wright arrived?
I'm gonna say shot. I this is too short of a span for me to sit there and say, oh well, Shane Wright has arrived. This is way too preemptive. I'm sorry. It's just 9. Okay, got 9 points in 9 games. Great. He's got 11 points in 27 games on this season. Like, so you realize that in the other 18 games this season, he has 2 points. Like, this could just be a hot streak. So, way too early to answer this. You know what? I don't even want to give it a shot. This has to be graded an incomplete.
Okay.
Sorry, there's no other way to answer it.
While we're waiting for Anthony to get back, I'll go beer on this. He started looking pretty good on Sunday. Now, granted, as I said about that entire game, the Rangers played 35 minutes of good hockey. So now you go take that, and then I think it was the line of him, Bjorkstrand, and Tolvanen that they were all together, and they were looking very solid. He beat Kakko for the 6th goal, which ended up being the one that really decided the game. Well, it was the game winner, actually. And you did kind of look over the rest of the first half of that game going, what is Seattle doing? What's their structure? I don't see what they're doing. And then they were able to run off 6 consecutive goals against the Rangers, 5 consecutive. It's
don't even.
Yeah, I know.
Don't even.
It's got to be still a little bit flustered going, what in the world just happened? But Phil, I'd have to say that, yeah, a little bit of a beer that maybe he's arrived. Not there yet, just maybe he's there. Phil, let's talk about some other goaltenders, other players around the league that are maybe on the international stage as of right now. Maybe one that is and one that's not. But Montreal's Sam Montembeault was named to Canada's 4 Nations roster. He's 9-11-2 with 283 goals against and a 908 save percentage. Jordan Binnington and Aiden Hill also on there. Sam Montembeault should be the starter for Team Canada.
I'm going to say beer, and I'm just going to ask you to find the clip of Kevin McAllister from Home Alone with the picture of Buzz and his girlfriend going, Buzz, your girlfriend. Woof.
I think I have that in the edits to put on. I don't think I have that.
I think we need that clip like right about now, because if that's your starter for Team Canada, your goaltending ain't very good. Not good enough. And I feel bad for Sam Montembeault because I'm trashing the guy right now. But I mean, honestly, like, are you really going to win anything with Sam Montembeault as your starter?
That's a tough one. That's a very tough one.
All right, so THC, if you think he's somehow the best option available, then what does that tell you about their goaltending?
Well, Phil, let me throw this one out at you, because I had to look twice on this while I was doing the article about Shesterkin. Once again, look for my article on X. It's time for Igor to prove it. Do you because I just shake my head. I have to repeat this again. In games with a games above a 900 save percentage, those are 59.1% of Shesterkin's game. That ranks him this season. Ranks him 9th in the league. Tied with Tristan Jarry and behind Sam Montembeault and Cam Talbot. So Sam Montembeault is able to turn in
Marc loves.
I mean, it's making you shit. Sam Montembeault could turn in good games and be a good goalie. Can there be enough?
This is really it right here. If Montembeau is the answer, what the hell is the question?
Well, when your other choices are Jordan Binnington, who he's gotten closer to the 2019 form that he showed. He's still not.
We're being very generous when we say
we're being generous. And Aiden Hill, they named him to this roster. Is he going to be healthy enough to make it to the roster? Because Aiden Hill has always had a history of injuries. So and just I just don't know whether or not that's going to happen. And so you know what? You might be left with Sam Montembeau, who, you know what?
Oh, this is a great one. Oh, that's great. So many good Allison Chains references in the chat. Please keep them going. I could sit here all day with these.
So I am going to go beer on that one. I do agree with everybody. That's the state of Canada's goaltending, is that you have to choose between Sam Montembeau, Jordan Binnington, and Aiden Hill. The U.S. is not scared of those goaltenders.
No, absolutely. They are not scared of him. And no, Dustin Wolf is not Canadian. Dustin Wolf, as great as he's playing, they were never going to give him that spot over Swayman.
Yeah, and again, and you still have Hellebuck that's in there. You know, he's only won 2 Vezina trophies. He's the reigning Vezina trophy winner right now.
And Wolf's been better than Swayman this year. I'll tell you that. I mean, he's cooled off a little bit, but he's still been better than Swayman this year.
Well, I mean, Swayman started a little bit late and behind the 8 ball. Let's look over to a guy that did not make the Canadian roster. Mark Scheifele, 3 goals, 2 assists in the last 3 games, all of them since the rosters were announced. Scheifele is the biggest snub of the 4 nations, Philk.
I'm going to say beer. Definitely, you could look at Team Canada. There's other guys that you probably could argue on their defense that are big snubs as well. I mean, Cole Caulfield for USA, Tage Thompson for USA. I mean, those are 2 guys that, I mean, probably should have been on. No offense to Vinny Trocheck or Brock Nelson, but how do you not put Tage Thompson over there? I love this comment from Pete. Yeah, you raise your kids right and you show them good music. Lane Staley, rest in peace, because that man was an absolute friggin' prodigy of a talent. But getting back to hockey, no, I'm going to say beer. He's up there. I don't think he is the biggest. I think Tage Thompson might be the biggest for me.
I'm going to go with that. It is. I think he is the biggest snub because right now he's right there. Let me see. Where was he? He was 16th in the league.
I would love to. Yeah, the biggest snub is really that it's not a World Cup, and don't even get me started on Russia and what they're doing to them. It's a freaking joke.
Yeah. And by the way, JE, we've been on this 100%. Anthony talked about it in the short that we put up last week. That Czechia is the defending world champ. Russia's not in there because of the way the world is. And in 1980, they invaded Afghanistan.
And they still weren't excluded from the Olympics.
They still weren't excluded. So sometimes it's just talk about fragile egos with Mika Zibanejad. That's the way the world is. It's too many fragile egos. And none of the Russian players, like Artemi Panarin, is not a Putin supporter. So you're going to exclude him because of his country. It's just, all right. And look, it was negotiated. We know about this. And with the players, they were trying to field everything. We all know about those other reasons. But that is, I got off on a tangent. Scheifele's been playing amazing this season. And really, he just looked dominant last night against the Boston Bruins. And the Bruins they absolutely took it to the Winnipeg Jets took it to the Boston Bruins. I mean, it's a rough game, but the Jets have been playing great. Scheifele's a good reason. Him and Kyle Connor.
I went to highlighted Jay's on accident because Jay's came up. But yeah, I mean, it I would replace either Trocheck or Brock Nelson with Thompson. Tage Thompson deserves to be on there. I honestly, I would probably go with Nelson and move him off for Thompson. And the reason I say that is because Trocheck is a better skater, and I think that you want to have your team be a better skating unit. You could say Nelson's having a better year, but Trocheck is starting to play better as of late. And I know that people say, "Oh, you're biased, you're a Rangers fan." You want your team to have the best speed possible. You want guys that can play an up-tempo game against Canada, because Canada's defensive core, I don't know why Parayko was on there, but all those guys can skate and move the puck very, very well. And you're going to have to deal with that. So I would keep Trocheck. I would probably remove Nelson in favor of Thompson. Thompson snub is just ridiculous. I'm sorry.
My only question on the Thompson snub, and I'm going to get Anthony's opinion on Marc Scheifele being the biggest snub of the Four Nations. But my only thing about the Thompson snub is, does Trocheck, is he a better fit to be a fourth-line center than Thompson is? That would be my only question on that. Anthony, Marc Scheifele is the biggest snub of the Four Nations.
One of them, yeah. I mean, him, Thompson, Gold Caulfield. So those three come to mind. But Bill Guerin, the reason why he chose guys like Kreider, Trocheck, Nelson over Thompson and Caulfield was because he wanted versatility. He wanted more well-rounded players. And he feels with guys like Matthews and Jack Hughes and Boldy, all those guys kind of already in the lineup, that he felt that he had enough scoring, and he needed more of the complete players. And that's why he went Trocheck, Nelson, Thompson. There are some things that people don't really realize about Nelson. Nelson and Mike Kelly from the NHL Network kind of posted it too, and I touched on it. Over the last 4 years, Nelson has been one of the highest scoring American-born forwards in the league. When you see comments on X, it's like Brock Nelson over Thompson, Caulfield, etc. I mean, do you live under a rock? Like, he's a very good player. And what he has over guys like that is he's more well-rounded. He's better defensively, and he's more versatile. So I don't have a problem. And exactly, Jay saying right here, he said it wasn't an all-star team. So I don't have a problem with Kreider, Trocheck, Nelson making the team over some of the other guys. It's not an all-star game. It's an international competition, even though it's 4 countries. And again, it's not like he chose, I don't know. It's not like he chose like just complete grinders over these guys. Trocheck had career year, 70+ points. Kreider has scored 50 goals before. Nelson has 3 consecutive 34+ goal seasons. So yeah, I mean, none of them are as good as Thompson, Caulfield, but all 3 of them bring other parts of their game that Caulfield, Thompson don't. And so, Guerin has to live with it now. Yeah, maybe if they flame out and they fail to score goals, he's going to be criticized for his decisions. But, he put together the best team that he thought that could compete for gold. So good for him for making the tough decisions. As for Canada, I mean, yeah, Marc Scheifele is a pretty big snub. But, again, with Canada, they have such a wide pool of talent to choose from. You saw one of the things I sent after the roster was made. Even their snub roster is probably better than some of the other countries like Finland and Sweden. So with Canada, it's really hard to kind of say, Scheifele's the biggest snub, because they have so many good players. I mean, Tavares is having a great year. It's just, you can name a whole bunch of players that didn't make that team that that deserve to. It's just with them, it's a numbers game.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I would still say Scheifele would probably be the biggest stump because I think he should be there. He's 16th in the NHL in scoring. Let me back up one thing you said before, Anthony. People that are ripping the inclusion of Brock Nelson for this team. Brock Nelson, since the 21-22 season, has 117 goals. That is one behind Matt Tkachuk. And the following players, he's got more than. He's got more than Aho, Rupe Hintz, Artemi Panarin, Brady Tkachuk, Sidney Crosby, Elias Pettersson, Kucherov, and, of course, Mark Scheifele. I'm pretty sure Brock Nelson earned his way on there. So, all right. Well, that's going to conclude Big Apple Hockey's Bar Talk, guys, where we're gauging our confidence on NHL topics based on our choice to drink. I was hoping that Anthony was going to have to run out. By the way, that boy cleaned up good from the line from Anchorman that Danny Trejo says. And Anthony walks away, comes back, suit, tie, tie. The suit's probably going on later. But hey, Phil, let's do a blind ranking. Just since I got you right here, I'm going to ask you a question first, and you have a choice on it.
Yeah, the game's on, so we're going to want to wrap this up very quick.
All right, let's.
I gotta go too in a couple of minutes.
No problem. Well, we'll do the two blind we'll do this blind ranking, and then I'll get you out of here, or maybe just this one. With Trouba going to the Ducks, I thought about this. Players that you'd want in a Charlie Conway situation. Penalty shot at the end of the game, and if he gets it, you win. We got it clear? All right.
So penalty shot to win the game. Last shooter.
The last shooter. Oh, okay. You could say either shootout or in regulation.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Either Charlie Conway or Bart Simpson, whichever one you want to take.
Doesn't matter.
All right, Phil, you ready?
Go ahead.
Mats Zuccarello.
Ooh. Because he's great in shootouts, I'm gonna put him at it's 5.
It's 5, yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna say 3.
Jussi Jokinen.
Oh man. 2.
Franz Nielsen.
Shootout ace. One of the best shooters of all time in shootouts. But, oh wait, hold on. Is this shootouts or is this like a penalty shot in like the Olympics or something like that? Because that could change things.
We'll go with shootout to win the game then.
Just in a regular NHL game.
Yeah. Although I think both situations are the same, but I know what you mean.
They're not. It's a whole different situation.
All right.
I'm gonna say 1 just because he's one of the best we've ever seen.
Michael Nylander. 5. Pavel Datsyuk is 4.
I gotta put him at 4 then, but yeah, honestly, the top 4 you could kind of throw around if it's just a shootout in the NHL. If it's a penalty shot in like an Olympic game, something like that, then yeah, you got to go Datsyuk 1 at that point.
All right. Well, in that case, I guess we'll wrap it up right there, guys. I did have some name this players, but I'll save them for next week. And we also had another blind rankings that are right there. So, Phil, I'm just going to start the music and we're going to get ourselves out of here. But my real question, what's your thoughts on tonight? Phil, I lost you.
Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you, yeah.
There's not a lot of good energy in this team right now. Really not a lot of good energy. And I really don't trust this team right now. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a bad feeling that they're going to lose this game.
I kind of have a real bad feeling on it too. And up the Blues once again. Thank you very much. And Dario, to answer this question, I think the answer on that is, what would it cost to get Kadri and Anderson out of Calgary? It's going to be a lot because right now they're in fall contention. So
Rasmus Anderson alone I don't think it would go in a package deal either. I think Rasmus Anderson alone could fetch quite a return because of the team friendly contract he's on.
yeah. Well, we got a lot that we got to cover, and I am going to have dinner with my lovely wife right now. Guys, take it easy. Enjoy the Ranger game tonight. Hopefully you can, and hopefully we all can. And we'll see you soon enough.
All righty. Later, everybody.